How are we going, everyone? Now, yesterday you saw me build 2 new raised garden beds, or fill them in, that is. And I mentioned about this other bed that I had over here with overgrown spinach and all the other stuff going on lettuce. Now, I removed the spinach. I said I was going to come over here and test it out and see what's going on, because it's sunken really down low. Just got to try and get this netting over the top. And well, let's have a look at the soil underneath there before we go top it up. We've got a lettuce in here, it's gone to seed. Have a look at these flowers on top. Turned into little pom-poms. Now from that, oh, I just broke it. I keep breaking everything, you banana head. It's still holding on, it's got a crack in it. Anyway, the idea of that is they're going to blow off, fall in here and germinate again, and we get a new cluster of cos lettuce growing in the garden, self-germinated. Little volunteers, we call them. Now, keeping that in mind, I need to do something with this garden bed, so I want to replenish it. Now, as you've seen earlier, in the earlier episode, I've been filling these beds up with about 3, 6, 9 bags of, compost, cocoa and planting mix. But here we've got some existing plants already growing. So we've got a tomato, we've got one of those there. I don't know which one it is. It's going to be one of those magic gourds, one of those. But anyway, once it grows, we'll know exactly what variety. So I threw seeds down everywhere, folks, and I can't remember what I've grown. And all the leaves look the same. And we've got our lettuce in here, but we've also got beetroot. I planted some beetroot seedlings a while ago, folks, a couple of weeks ago. Now see how little this one is, and that's a bit larger. And you can see it's like the big papa bear, mama bear and little baby bear here. It's because we had a big lettuce and we had some of the spinach hanging over the top here, shadowing the 2 smaller seedlings there. And that one there is not really getting a lot of sunlight either. So this bed here loses its sunlight from about 2 o'clock, 2:30, something like that. So it gets plenty of morning sun. About 5-6 hours is what it gets. We're going to grow this tomato on in here. So the beetroots, well, we've had beetroot in here before and it done pretty well. So I think it's not so much the direct sunlight or the amount of it is more important. So here's the problem. We've got a tomato plant we're going to cover over, and it's okay to cover some of that stem because that'll just push on new roots, becomes a stronger plant. And I've got the root balls of the spinach left behind in here, so they may decay, but you can see they've been pushing flowers up there. All the top big strong flowers have been removed. These will wither away and die basically. If it tries to grow again, well, lucky you or lucky me if I get anything out of it. But at the end of the day, it's really there to serve a purpose for the microbes in the soil, the fungi and the bacteria that we want to feed continuously. So we have a good colony going on there so the rest of the plants can thrive. So we've got the pumpkin gourd or other growing there. We've got a lettuce. We can cover a little bit of that. So we can cover the lettuce, we can cover the tomatoes. We're going to have to lift those out, but we're not going to fill this up all this high. This time here, we're going to do the wall again. We're going to do mulch wall because I've never done it this way before. So an existing bed like that hasn't got any mulch walls in the past, we're going to create one here and then just add a couple of bags of planting mix in the middle. So we only go up about 1 or 2 centimetres, maybe 3 centimetres meters the most. But before we start, let's have a look and see what's going on underneath here, hey folks? I have not dug here at all, and it is a little bit firm because admittedly I've been avoiding the water. Yeah, it's firm, all right. And this is a question somebody posed to me saying, using cocoa fibre, is that going to help keep it porous or not? And I'm talking about porosity. Well, we got a worm, but it's not a happy worm. It's a half-cast worm. So the cocoa will actually stop your soil from going hard like this. I mean, it's not hard. Remember, the KPI is a PSI, sorry, not KPI. The PSI, wrong meeting. The PSI in the soil can get up to about 150, 170, something like that, 180. That's the pounds pressure that exists within the soil, and the roots can penetrate through that. Anything higher than that, the roots basically will grow through, but they'll really struggle. So this isn't at that sort of depth, but I haven't got the machine to measure it here, but I can assure you it isn't that firm to the point where plants can't grow. But I still like it to be a little bit looser than that, so a bit more friable. So adding a little bit of straw and cocoa into it will keep the porosity in the compost is what you want. And if you don't water it well, this is a perfect example to show you how hard it can go on the edges. Just going to break a piece off here, look at that, like a piece of cake. That's dry on top, moist underneath. It's not too bad. It still breaks away really well, but again, nowhere near as alive as I've had in the other garden beds over there. But look, it's done its job and it's time to replenish. This is what happens to your soil, no matter how good it is when you start with it. By the end of the cycle or season, there's a lot of nutrients being taken out of here, and they come in the form of plants, leaves, stems, flowers, fruit, veggies, and so on. So we need to put something back in there. Otherwise, the life's just going to disappear, and the plants will slowly wither away before our very own eyes. Step 1, remove the existing seedlings. Step 2, hydrate if it needs to be hydrated before you start layering it. Step 3, give it a feed with some organic fertiliser. My preference is superfood and black grit. Step 4, it's time to build the insulation walls. And what we do is we just get small slabs. Hopefully this pulls apart neatly like that. Beautiful. And I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I'm pushing my friendship if I'm going to break this in half, aren't I? So if you haven't seen this before, folks, what I'm doing here is building a wall of insulation here for my soil inside. No, it's not going to dehydrate the bed. In fact, it keeps the bed more hydrated doing it this way, I've found. It stops the wind cutting through the gaps in the timber and so on. So it's just a layer of insulation as you would create on top of your bed. I'm doing it on the sides of the bed. Nice and cozy. And after you've done the walls, hydrate it. Now yesterday I added my liquid feed first and then I hydrated. Today I'm going to hydrate it and then add the liquid feed, just in case we got, anybody complaining. And about 20 to 40 mils of Eco Butch is what I'm adding. I didn't bring the liquid gold here, folks, so I'm going to add that after. But at least with the Eco Butch I can stimulate some life in there, just create a little bit of activity there to excite the microbes to start feeding off this mulch. Now you can see it's quite not stringy, I won't say, but straw-like, dry. Initially when I was playing with it, you can feel the crispiness in it because that's dehydrated really well. So it's about a year old, this mulch, but it's been undercover, so it hasn't been weathered out in the open. And by hydrating it, it'll take next to nothing to hydrate this properly, especially once we put our soil in the middle of it. It'll absorb some moisture, and once it's hydrated, it'll hold it pretty well, and in turn it'll start to decompose, and that means we've got microbes activating in it. That's what you want. Food source. They feed off the sides, they give it to the plants give it to the microbes, and they go back in the sides and they live there like a home until they eat themselves out of it. And that's where we come along and build it all again. So I'm going to start with 1 bag of planting mix just to see how high it goes. It will sink and compact after a few days, so there might be 2 that I'm adding, but let's just see. Okay, we're going to push it into the sides because we know the walls will not collapse, but just fall in a little bit. Yeah, no, we need another bag. Yeah. I get excited, I feel like filling it all the way up now, but I'm not going to do that. So we'll just start with that, get 1 more bag. Beautiful. Just a little bit more on the other side. There. See, 1 bag was not enough, 2 bags, I should have got 1.5. I've got more than I need in here now. But you can get away with 1 bag if you like too, I reckon. So there we are. So far, what have we done? So we've added the mulch on the surface, on the wall, sorry. We've hydrated it, we've added some liquid feed to stimulate it. We've put some planting mix down. We're going to hydrate this now. Then after that, we're going to dress it with some more mulch. As you can see, it's been fermenting there. Give it a good water first, and then top dress it with the stinky stuff. Ugh. This is the best part. You get to touch it. And there you have it. So the mulch is down, and I'm putting my seedlings back in here, folks. So let's just go through over what we've done here. We're topping up an existing bed here, folks, that's got some existing plants. Now, as you can see, the tomatoes, no problems at all when you top up around it. 2 or 3 centimetres worth of soil. I'm using the planting mix. If you haven't got the planting, can't get it, get yourself some compost and some cocoa, mix them together and add that into your garden. Now for younger seedlings that are already been planted, you're best to lift them up as I did and then just replant them again back into the new bed once you finish mulching and everything else like that. If you got seeds, they will fall down, they will find their way into the mulch and they will germinate, crazy as it is, and they'll start to push through all this area here, and then we can slowly separate them as they mature large enough and are not as delicate to handle. And over here, as you can see, there's nothing here, but once upon a time there was spinach and they are still underneath there. So the root ball and some of the stems are there. Whether something pushes out, I doubt it very much, but at the end of the day, there's another food source for the microbes in the soil, because it's all about feeding your soil, not feeding your plants, folks. I haven't been mentioning that for a while, but you get what I'm talking about. Look after your soil and everything above will be fine. You won't need to spray, and if you've got pests, they'll be short-lived. Trust you me. They may eat one plant, but that's a sacrificial plant that we make, and the garden makes, and nature obviously allows, so they can come and clean up the mess in your garden. And don't forget to liquid feed. That's so important. Do it weekly. Trust me, you're going to love it. I mean, we've had some bad weather just before we go, folks. I mean, it's been 40 degrees one day, 14, the next 30, then 13, and 6 at night, then rain, then bloody high winds. And when I look around the garden here, considering and comparing to previous years, we've had a worse sort of season as a start-up for spring, summer, and very unstable, yet the garden is holding off a lot better this year than it has previously. Yeah, I've had some great crops in the past, but generally overall, the entire area, especially with the beds that have been dehydrating continuously on me, I've been managed to keep them hydrated and slowly bringing them back to good health, and then we'll be able to harvest some good produce with high nutritional value for our guts, so we can self-heal. Get it? It does exist. From me, Vasily, Maresi, VasilisGarden.com. Don't forget the grow stick, folks.